There exists a fundamental truth about human biology that has been overlooked by many in our modern sedentary society. The movement we undertake each day is far more than just a way to maintain our appearance or achieve temporary fitness goals. It is perhaps one of the most accurate predictors of how long we will actually live and the quality of life we will experience. During those years, scientists and researchers around the world have been uncovering an astonishing reality that our ancestors intuitively understood centuries ago. The amount and type of physical activity we engage in can determine our lifespan with remarkable accuracy, sometimes even more reliably than genetic factors that we once believed were fixed and unchangeable. Throughout human evolution, our bodies were designed for movement. Our ancestors were constantly in motion, hunting, gathering, building, and traveling across vast distances to survive. This constant activity shaped our physiology at the deepest level, creating biological systems that thrive when we move regularly and deteriorate when we remain still. In our contemporary world, where technology has largely eliminated the need for movement from our daily lives, we have inadvertently created a crisis of inactivity. We drive to places we could walk to. We use elevators instead of stairs. We sit at desks for 8 or more hours per day, and we entertain ourselves with screens that keep us motionless. This fundamental disconnection between how our bodies evolved and how we live today is one of the primary drivers of chronic disease and premature mortality in developed nations. The research demonstrating the connection between movement and longevity is not speculative or theoretical. It is based on large-scale longitudinal studies that have followed tens of thousands of people over decades, tracking their physical activity levels and their health outcomes. One of the most compelling findings came from studies at prestigious institutions that examined the relationship between walking speed and longevity. Researchers discovered that people who walk at a faster pace during their regular daily walks tend to live significantly longer than those who walk slowly. This is remarkable because it suggests that it is not just the act of moving but the intensity and vigor with which we move that matters. A person who walks slowly for 30 minutes may gain some health benefits, but a person who walks at a brisk pace for the same duration is likely to live several years longer than the slower walker. This difference compounds over a lifetime, potentially translating to years or even decades of additional life. The biological mechanisms underlying this phenomenon are increasingly well understood. When we move our bodies, we activate muscle cells that begin to consume glucose and utilize oxygen at higher rates. This process triggers a cascade of beneficial adaptations throughout our body. Our heart becomes stronger and more efficient at pumping blood. Our lungs increase their capacity to extract oxygen from the air. Our muscles develop greater mitochondrial density, meaning each cell becomes better at producing energy and burning calories efficiently. Beyond these muscular and cardiovascular adaptations, movement triggers the release of thousands of compounds in our body that have protective effects against aging and disease. One particularly important class of these compounds are called myokines, which are signaling molecules produced and released by contracting muscle fibers. These myokines travel through the bloodstream and influence the function of nearly every organ system in the body. They help regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, support immune function, and even influence brain health and mood. It is as if our muscles are communicating with the rest of our body through a sophisticated chemical language, and this conversation only happens when we move. When we remain sedentary, our muscles stop producing these protective compounds and we lose access to their health benefits. This is one reason why inactivity is so devastating to our health. It is not just that we are not burning calories or keeping our cardiovascular system active, it is that our muscles are not sending out the chemical signals that keep the rest of our body functioning optimally. Did you know that one simple habit can protect you from nearly every major cause of death in developed countries? It's not a miracle drug or a fancy diet, it's regular movement. People who move consistently have drastically lower rates of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and even dementia and depression. The protective effects are huge. Often, the benefits of exercise are even greater than medication for the same conditions. Think about this. A person who stays active throughout their life can have a cardiovascular system that functions like someone decades younger. Their blood vessels stay flexible, their heart stays strong, and their blood pressure remains stable. This isn't just theory. Longitudinal studies consistently show that highly active people live 5 to 10 years longer than sedentary people. That's an extra decade of life just from moving your body. So, what kind of movement gives you the best bang for your buck? It's all about variety. First, aerobic activities like walking, running, or cycling are essential. These get your heart rate up and train your heart and lungs to work more efficiently. Aim for at least 20 to 30 minutes where your heart rate is elevated. This also releases endorphins that boost your mood and protect your brain. Next, don't skip resistance training. As we age, we naturally lose muscle, a process called sarcopenia. This loss is a primary driver of frailty and disability, but you can fight it. Building and maintaining muscle helps regulate blood sugar and keeps you strong and independent. People with more muscle mass are less likely to fall or be hospitalized. And you don't need a fancy gym bodyweight exercises or simple resistance bands work wonders. Finally, let's talk about flexibility and balance. Activities like yoga, tai chi, or Pilates are crucial, especially as we get older. Falls are a leading cause of injury and death in older adults, so improving your balance is literally a lifesaver. Plus, these activities often have a meditative quality that reduces stress, another key factor for a long and healthy life. So, the secret to a longer, healthier life isn't that complicated. It's about combining aerobic exercise, strength training, and flexibility work into your routine. Start moving today, and your future self will thank you for it. Beyond the specific types of movement, the consistency and regularity with which we move appears to be the most important factor. A person who exercises vigorously once a week but sits completely still the other 6 days does not gain the full benefits of that exercise. The human body seems to require regular stimulation to maintain its adaptive responses and protective mechanisms. This is why some researchers suggest that reducing sitting time throughout the day may be just as important as dedicated exercise sessions. A person who moves around regularly throughout their day, takes the stairs, parks farther away and walks, stands while working, and breaks up sedentary periods with movement breaks may gain nearly as much health benefit as someone doing a single hour-long workout, even if the total movement duration is similar. This finding has profound implications for people who struggle to find time for formal exercise, as it suggests that integrating movement throughout the day is an effective strategy. The timing and pattern of movement also influences its effects on longevity. Recent research has begun to distinguish between different patterns of physical activity and their relative benefits. Some studies suggest that people who engage in high-intensity interval training, which involves short bursts of very vigorous activity interspersed with recovery periods, may gain disproportionate benefits for their time investment. These high-intensity intervals appear to trigger deeper physiological adaptations in mitochondrial function and metabolic health than steady-state aerobic activity alone. However, this does not mean that steady aerobic activity is not beneficial. In fact, most longevity researchers recommend a combination of steady aerobic activity, high-intensity intervals, and resistance training for optimal health outcomes. The dose-response relationship between movement and longevity is important to understand. Generally speaking, more movement is better than less movement in terms of longevity outcomes, but the relationship is not linear. Someone moving from sedentary to lightly active gains enormous benefits. Someone moving from lightly active to moderately active gains substantial additional benefits. However, the additional benefit from moving from very active to extremely active is smaller in relative terms. This means that someone does not need to become an elite athlete to gain the majority of longevity benefits available from movement. A person who engages in approximately 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity per week combined with 2 sessions of resistance training and regular daily movement is likely getting close to the maximum health and longevity benefit available from exercise patterns. More is not harmful, but the return on investment diminishes at higher activity levels. The relationship between movement and longevity extends beyond physical health into the realm of mental and cognitive health. Regular physical activity is one of the most effective interventions for preventing and treating depression and anxiety. Studies have shown that the antidepressant effects of exercise can be comparable to the effects of medications in some cases. Furthermore, physical activity appears to protect cognitive function and reduce the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. People who remain physically active throughout their lives maintain better memory, faster processing speed, and more intact executive function compared to sedentary peers. The cognitive benefits appear to be driven by multiple mechanisms, including improved blood flow to the brain, increased production of growth factors that support neuron survival, and reduced inflammation. Exercise also promotes the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, a brain region critical for memory formation. The social and emotional aspects of movement also contribute to its effects on longevity. Many people engage in movement within social contexts, whether through group fitness classes, sports teams, hiking groups, or simply walking with friends. These social connections are themselves powerful predictors of longevity. The combination of physical activity and social engagement creates a multiplier effect on health outcomes. Conversely, sedentary people who are also isolated face compounded mortality risks. The psychological benefits of movement, including the sense of accomplishment, improved self-efficacy, and better self-image, also contribute to better health outcomes and possibly longer lifespan. Age is not a barrier to gaining longevity benefits from increased movement. Studies have demonstrated that even people who become active later in life see dramatic improvements in health and life expectancy. Someone who remains sedentary until age 60 but then begins a regular exercise program can expect to live several years longer than they would have if they had remained inactive. This is profoundly encouraging because it means that the decision to move more is never too late. There is no age at which the benefits of physical activity disappear. In fact, the benefits may be even more pronounced in older adults whose health may have been compromised by years of inactivity. The cellular and systemic adaptations to movement happen at nearly any age, though they may take somewhat longer in older individuals. The genetics of movement and longevity reveal an interesting truth. While genetic variation certainly influences how much benefit an individual receives from a given amount of physical activity, genes are far from destiny. Twin studies have shown that identical twins who maintain different activity levels over decades can have dramatically different health outcomes and life expectancies. The twin who moves regularly will typically live significantly longer and with better health than the sedentary twin, despite sharing identical genetic material. This demonstrates that environment and lifestyle choices profoundly override genetic predisposition in determining longevity. Epigenetic research has revealed that physical activity can actually turn genes on and off through mechanisms that alter how DNA is packaged and accessed. Regular movement can silence disease, promoting genes and activate genes that support health and longevity. In our modern world, the ability to predict longevity through movement patterns has practical applications. Some researchers have developed algorithms that can estimate life expectancy based on measures like walking speed, the ability to stand on one leg, or performance on timed physical tests. These assessments are often more accurate predictors of actual longevity than traditional risk factors like age and gender. An 80-year-old person with high physical fitness may have a longer life expectancy than a 60-year-old person who is sedentary and out of shape. This reality challenges our assumptions about aging and suggests that chronological age is less important than functional fitness in determining how long we will live. The barrier to greater longevity through movement is not primarily a lack of knowledge. Most people are aware that exercise is good for health. The barriers are primarily psychological, environmental, and behavioral. Our built environments often make movement inconvenient. We drive because walking or biking takes longer. We use elevators because they are faster than stairs. We sit because chairs are available and standing requires effort. Our jobs and entertainment systems have been designed around sitting. Changing these patterns requires both individual motivation and broader environmental design. Cities that are walkable, workplaces that encourage movement, and communities that support active lifestyles make the choice to move regularly much easier than they would be in an environment actively designed around sedentary behavior. The economic and social impact of the movement-longevity relationship is enormous. Healthcare systems spend trillions of dollars treating diseases that are largely preventable through regular physical activity. If people moved more, the burden of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and dementia would decline dramatically. The healthcare costs saved would be substantial, but the human benefits would be far greater. People would live longer, healthier lives with better quality of life in their later years. They would remain independent longer and would not spend their final years dealing with preventable chronic disease. Want to know one of the biggest secrets to living a longer, healthier life? It's not some magic pill or expensive superfood. It's something you can start doing right now, for free. It's movement. I'm not talking about running marathons or becoming a bodybuilder. Unless you want to, of course. I'm talking about simply moving your body more throughout the day. Think about it. Our bodies were designed to move for thousands of years. We walked, hunted, and farmed. But today, many of us spend hours sitting at a desk, in a car, or on the couch. This sedentary lifestyle is one of the biggest health risks we face. But the good news is, it's easy to fight back. Research shows that even small amounts of regular physical activity can dramatically improve your health span. That is the number of years you live in good health. It strengthens your heart, improves your circulation, keeps your bones strong, and even boosts your brain function. So how can you add more movement to your day? Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Go for a walk during your lunch break. Stand up and stretch every hour. Dance in your kitchen while making dinner. Find an activity you genuinely enjoy, whether it's gardening, swimming, or playing with your kids. The key is consistency. Make movement a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, just like brushing your teeth. Your future self will thank you for it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on living your best life.